What's up, guys? Marvin here, Wisco Blacktop Banner, heading down to Dubuque to do some estimates today. Sorry for the shaky camera, it's on a mount here, but I wanted to tell you all a story. The guys went and did a project, or went to attempt to start a project today. It's getting cold here in Wisconsin, and there was dew dripping down onto the asphalt. I sent them there at 8 a.m. and dew was dripping from the edge of the steel roof down onto the asphalt. So they didn't start the project. We got to wait for that to dry out a little bit and for the roof to dry out and those types of things. But it spurred a story that I just wanted to share with you guys, and a lesson I learned. So I'll get into it, but like I said, the camera's going to shake. If you don't want to watch it, just set it down and listen to it. That's cool too. This will be the only place that this story probably exists, unless somebody someday gets me to say it on the podcast. But a long while ago, this is our 18th year, probably, 14 years ago, I had just kind of started to get my feet wet doing, in my mind, what were larger projects, but they were the larger residential driveways. And we had done a great job of maintaining this driveway that a person was going to replace for about 6 years. So we did 2 cycles through it. I subcontracted out when it was time to get repaved for it to get repaved. So we did that, and we repaved it. Another few years went by, and it was time for it to get seal coated. Now, when we repaved it, as I said, this was early in my career. When we repaved it, they had a shed off to the side, and there was a concrete sidewalk that went to the service door, and that sidewalk was just obliterated. So the homeowner was like, hey, can you just, you're gonna overlay the asphalt, can you overlay the sidewalk there too? And we did. So it was asphalt along the edge of this steel roof. Now, in hindsight, I wasn't as sharp in my early years and didn't have the experience and didn't have the thought process of, hey, I should check all my surroundings and possibilities of what's going on before we seal coat this thing. Obviously, it was up by the shed, and it was a sidewalk, so we broomed that area back with emulsion. And, I left it a little thicker along that sidewalk, whatever. There's a lot of, variables that go into this happening, right? The way this disaster that happened. The shed and the sidewalk and the door side where we seal coated was on the north side of the shed. And here in Wisconsin, later in the year a little bit, the sun is more to the south. Therefore, when we did this driveway and we got to that edge and we broomed it and then we sprayed out, that was near the end of the driveway. It was probably 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe around 4, a little bit later, and I didn't think anything of it. There was no rain in the forecast, everything was all good. I wouldn't have any issues just drying out overnight and the next day, and then they could drive on it and do their thing. So we did all this, seal coated, prepped, did everything, looked fantastic. I didn't think anything of it. Next day, everything was fine. The 2 days after we seal coated and completed the project, I got a phone call, and it was, Marvin, there's sealer all over the side of my shed. It's black at the bottom. It's on my door. It's on the concrete base there at the bottom of the shed. It's everywhere. And I was like, I'll come take a look at it and see what's going on with it. Like I said, early in my career, I had no clue what was going on or why it would have happened, right? It didn't rain, there was nothing there. What ended up happening was this roof had an overhang of probably 6 inches, and I'd never really looked at that. That 6 inches vertically straight up landed right on the sidewalk that we had seal coated. Now, it didn't rain, but overnight the steel roof cooled, right, and collected condensation on this thing. The whole steel roof panel, probably 20-foot side from eaves to peak. and this water had dripped off in the night. While our sealer was in the shade, it didn't have a chance to dry completely. The overhang dripped down onto our sealer all night, overnight. The homeowner didn't even go to his shed side the next day, and it was 2 days later, he took the ribbon down, went to walk over there and take a look, and seen the sealer all over the side of the tin on his shed, the service door, everything. So I get my brother, Jesse, and I, we go out here and take a look and see it everywhere. The only thing that we were using at that time was like Orange Clean, the Goop Orange Clean. I don't even think I had even thought of Shout yet. Shout, like how it's in our industry, it's like one of the major cleaners now for yourself, for your hands and stuff, because it's safe, but it leaves like an oily, filmy residue. So we're in the middle of nowhere. This is pre-Facebook, pre the groups, pre being able just to pop on and ask someone a question or do whatever. Obviously gas wasn't going to do it. Like I said, it was emulsion, it would have made a huge mess. So we used Orange Goop and Orange Clean and just kept spraying it and cleaning it and spraying it and cleaning it. Well, we were cleaning it with paper towels and rags. You could see, because it was an older piece of tin, the color of the tin, like on the rags, as we was trying to clean the sealer too. And we were there probably 6-7 hours, if not more, right? And we cleaned, and then we would rinse, and then we would clean, we would rinse. We did it so much that the cleaner got onto that sidewalk and just started to eat the sealer that was kind of fresh, right? 2 days old, 2 or 3 days old. And started eating it apart too. So we ended up cleaning it that day, rinsed the sidewalk off with the water hose, used a clean broom to try to broom anything free, resealed that the next morning. I didn't do it again in the afternoon. The next morning, get a call from the owner. He's like, it's still on there. The paint on the tin looks different. Paint on the door looks different. Like, you need to come clean again. We went back and cleaned another 4 or 5 hours. This time I put plastic cloth down on a painter's cloth, they call it, or whatever, on the sealer, so we didn't get cleaner all over it. And we cleaned and cleaned and cleaned again, and more of it came off. There was no drops or anything, but visibly we had changed the color of the paint on the bottom 2 feet of it's probably 10 or 15 feet of the shed, because we had just cleaned and cleaned and rubbed with towels and stuff. So essentially it was 2 different colors there. Luckily, the homeowner, after we rinsed it again, the homeowner came out and was like, it's the best you can do. And we then realized what the situation was. And luckily, he was a homeowner that was very understanding and was like, there's no way that this crazy set of circumstances, you could have foreseen this coming, and done this. But honestly, now we can see that because we've been down that road, right? So that's one of the disaster stories. I don't have a whole lot, but I want to keep saving some of them because they make for good stories. But from then on, like all the time, even Chris, the crew lead, and Cameron and all the guys, we look for that, right, all the time. And then we also look for, if we get to where we're sealing that point in the day, that we don't do that. That we don't try to seal it and then push it and then condensation happened and that happened again. We did a parking lot the other day and we didn't even trim out underneath the edges, of the building, because we were worried it might sprinkle and then that dropped down. We sprayed the big part, but we didn't do the edges. It's just something to keep an eye out and watch out for. But that was a disaster. We spent 2 days extra cleaning that thing, and it could have easily been avoided just by a little bit of experience, knowing, hey, this possibly could happen at this time of the year, and you're in the shade on the north side of the building. So that's the story of the Sealcoat disaster, of it going up the side of the shed. I hope it never happens to you. I hope you get to take some advice from that and learn from my mistakes.